first 17 shots, but you weathered that storm and didn't let Doug McDaniel go off. So
Right.
how big was it to get through those first 6-7 minutes?
I think it's important, like when you don't shoot the ball as well as you should, free throws and threes, and just overall, right? We just never really. We had a couple of stretches where we played well and shot well together, but I thought we played well. I thought we did some good things. We just didn't convert enough to reward ourselves to get on a run and push the game out. So the game kind of lingered, right? But I thought Michigan just played better than us in the first 10 minutes of the game. And to our guys' credit, we stayed with it and started to make more shots. And we just had to establish Zach. And, Braden had some really good looks that didn't go down. And that's what we really tried to focus in with him and just with all of our players is like, just keep taking good shots. Because when we take good shots, we normally have pretty good offensive rebounding position because Zach's going to get, his share of rebounds. And then if they overdo it and they kind of chip away at him, put 2 to 3 people around him on box outs, it leaves up a lot of space to get some of those long rebounds. And I think you guys, you saw that. But I thought we played well. A lot of people will take this as they were just okay, but we just didn't make some shots. But I thought we took pretty good shots and did some pretty good things tonight.
I think it was Mason there. He didn't score a lot in the first half, but I felt like he had a hand in how dominant you were on glass.
Yeah, he was active. Mason was really active. But I just think overall, when you out rebound them by 13, have 2 fewer turnovers. You go on the road in the Big Ten and you have under 10. For us, that's pretty impressive. It's kind of a magic number for us.
You just put yourself in opposing coach's shoes when they have to worry about Zach as an offensive rebounder.
Yeah.
How that affects the game. How unnerved would you be if you had to go against him?
Yeah. Well, they do different things. So they zone press to slow you down. They'll go man to man, but they'll also go to their matchup zone that after 3 or 4 passes ends up being into a man. So they match from that. But that's what I was talking about. Kind of the chip is another player who comes down and tries to wedge him while the guy guarding him tries to box him out too. Kind of a 2-on-1 box out. And you just see on that free throw, like he keeps his hands pretty high and then just, collects that basketball because he's enormous. So he just puts himself in that position. As long as he gives an effort and then just stays vertical and stays straight up, he has a lot of success with that. But, limiting his touches, making it hard for him, trying to get a frustration level at some point. Where he's done a great job is not getting frustrated with things. I thought we had, it's your perspective, right? Juwan would look at it and say, these handful of calls we'd like to get. And I look at it and say, these handful of calls I'd like to have. Because with him, the one thing that I always argue with the refs, you can't have 2 sets of rules. You can't have the rules for all the big guys in the country and then have a different set of rules for Ross-Ade because he does get more calls because he gets fouled more than everybody else. And so that's something for him. If they can't get him to that point and he just keeps playing hard, we normally have a lot of success. But I thought they did some good things. They changed defenses. They mixed some things up. They gave different looks. But then, when you have a really good 3-point shooting team, they got to make a decision. Like, why, okay, we're going to double or we're not going to double or we're going to mix it up. And it really puts them in a dilemma.
Stretch during the second half. Obviously, the stretch of the game was in the first half. But the stretch where they got striking distance a couple times.
Right.
You guys followed 2 missed threes, get threes, and then he gets and one tip off another offensive rebound. How monumental or pivotal was that stretch?
Yeah, and we had some possessions there defensively where like we just didn't secure the basketball and they were able to get a second chance opportunity. But even though we were able to keep it like from 7 to about 11 at that time, we kind of looked at it differently why we couldn't take it from 11 to like 15. Like that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get some distance in the game, and we couldn't do that. And I think you got to give them credit. They kept making plays and making shots. But we also missed a couple front end of 1-on-1s, and so you don't make your free throws and you miss open shots. Now you're not capitalizing on great opportunities.
Sure, reflect on how efficient you guys and score 35 points and 18 shots.
Yeah, good player. Obviously, he's shooting the ball from 8 feet in, right? So he's just been able. He can get position on a consistent basis. Probably their best defensive effort was to start the game when they had him out. He shot those 2 hook shots, and they looked like they were at about 10 feet. It's at the other end, so I can't technically see it. But yeah, he's a very efficient player. He's very competitive. But more than anything, obviously, he rebounded well, and he didn't turn the ball over. So like our big fight is always, how do we rebound and how do we take care of the ball? So when your best player, can get you 15 rebounds and he also doesn't turn the basketball over and he's touching it all the time, it really sets the tone for the whole team.
There were a lot of whistles early, pretty physical play. Did it feel like you guys got tougher as the game went out? Is that a good show of your maturation that they were able to respond to it on the road?
Well, if you see us by numbers, we've kind of grown into this as a program. We're really trying to play good position defense and not foul. And so like we don't want to like overdo it. Like we want to shoot more free throws than our opponent. We know sometimes that's tough, on the road. But no, I thought our guys, played through it. We had a couple where we overdid it a little bit and fouled, but for the most part, I thought our guys did a good job of playing through it.
Minnesota and Ohio State closed the first half great. The last 2 games, the end of the first half, has been a real strength. Did you tweak anything in that regard, or did you see anything different in your guys?
No, don't turn it over. Make a shot. I mean, like sometimes people will look at like at the end of the Ohio State, like end of that first half, we have a couple really good shots, and then we just don't get a couple loose balls. And yeah.
Since he's gotten here, how much better has Braden gotten at when other teams are pressuring him and trying to get the ball out of his hands and making the right play and handling that?
Right. I think he does a great job of just controlling the game. Like tonight, he's probably frustrated because he's 3 for 14, but he has 11 assists, 3 turnovers, 8 rebounds, plays the whole game. So like, he can dictate the game. When he's making shots like that, that's when he's really got it going. He had a lot of really good looks that he'd like to have back, but he still played well. He played really well. He just didn't, shoot as well as he'd like to. But no, it's a great weapon. I always say that about starting a team. If you're going to start a team, start it with the point guard and the center, and those are the cornerstones, and then fill in from there. Now you're not going to pass up on grade 2 or 3. I'm just saying that Zach has the ball in his hands a lot, has a lot of usage. Braden has a lot of usage. When both of those guys are clicking and making good decisions, they raise everybody else's value.
All the talk last game, or a lot of it was about Heidi, obviously.
Right.
How do you feel like he responded? Just not trying to do too much after a game, a career night.
Yeah, I thought he was good. He has a great plus minus. He did some good things. From a defensive standpoint, he just didn't get a lot of opportunities. He gets the fast break layup, he gets the wide open 3 from a shooting standpoint, and that's it. And that's kind of the role, right? As we talked about, kind of a 3-and-D guy, but how much did he help us from a spacing standpoint? You got to go back and watch tape to say, some guy went 4 for 4 from 3. They're going to pay attention to it. Now take that away. It's almost like Fletch, right? It was great to see Fletch knock down a couple shots, that pull up of that 3. But people still go into a game saying, hey, you can't leave him, right? Go ahead.
Can you recall a game where your fans had as much of a presence at a Big Ten arena?
Never. We told our guys at halftime, I said, like, this might never happen ever again. I said, so give them something to cheer about. Because I came out and I said, hey, man, this is a pretty good crowd. Because I know they're on spring break. And I was like, this is a pretty good crowd. And then somebody said quick to me, like, now you understand that 1,500 people over there to your left is all Purdue people. So I didn't even know it. So head coaches don't know shit anyway. Right?
You talked a lot about how much Zach helps you as a rebounding team, but how much does he help the other people be better rebounders around him? You mentioned Brady had 8 rebounds, basically.
Yeah, just the space. Like sometimes some of those guys will be like when they're rebounders, and I always call it a late rebounder. Sometimes it's just not going to be clean. I'm ready for you to pass it to me and you shoot it. I'm not just going to be Johnny on the spot to get that, but still go in there, still run, fly in there and be able to get it. Just the attention he gets really, really helps out. I talk about pockets of space. He creates pockets of space. You want pockets of space in a zone and find those sweet spots in the high post, low post, short corner, things of that nature. But in rebounding, you want pockets of space too. He creates that because they all come towards him. A lot of people from a rebounding standpoint, especially when someone shoots a long shot, run to the rim when they don't have to box somebody out, which is the dumbest thing in the world to do because long shots go long. You should really step to your man even if he's not going. Wait a 1001 count, then go. So that ball, how many times do you watch and that ball flies over their head? So that little pause right there can really help, you as a box out guy on defense, but as an offensive guy, like he gets so much attention. Like that's where we try to steal points.
You touched on Fletch. We talked to him a lot, but what do you see with his confidence, just even while the shot's not falling?
Well, I think the one thing you have to keep in perspective is when you write out somebody's scouting report and their breakdown stuff, like what would be the first thing on his scouting report? Had 27 against Arizona, had 27 against Tennessee, shoots in the 40s from three. Don't let him catch and shoot. Now, Fletch with angles is a good player. He can make some plays and do some different things. But that's his number one thing that it's going to say on the scouting report. Well, then, from an opportunistic standpoint, he hasn't had as many opportunities. So now that he doesn't get as many opportunities, and then you struggle, that gets hard because you'll go 1 for 4 or 1 for 5, and you'll be like, what's the problem? Well, there's nothing. Like sometimes you can only shoot 4 times and you go 1 for 4. There's, your numbers aren't going to be the same. And now just take what the defense gives you and take your shots, but be a player. I think he's done a better job of being a player. I think he's done some better things on the defensive end. He's always quick to loose balls and long rebounds and those type of plays. He's got to be able to make those plays and just keep guarding and just doing whatever it takes to help your team. Don't sit there and base how you play on how you shot. But most of us do that. So
just Lance's toughness. I think Terry called it Evanston tough.
Mm-hmm.
Just when there are physical scraps, it seems like he's always in the mix.
Right.
What has that brought to your team?
Yeah, he's quick to the ball, and whether you're going after a loose ball or a long rebound, or I try to get him to sprint more in transition. He doesn't always sprint, but whenever he does, and you kick it ahead to him, sometimes he'll shoot an asteroid from 37 feet. But like when he drives, that drive he made in the first half was beautiful. Like that was just, we got to get more of that. So if you're worried about Zach running down the court and Braden pushing it, and now you kick it ahead, and you got guys like Cam and Fletch and Mason that can shoot the basketball, like it balances, what you do. That speed and quickness really help us. So he's very competitive. He's definitely given us what we need.
Thank you, guys.